Hello. I'm literally doing this chat from the trenches. Today has been a fascinating day. I'm Francis Fox. I'm an expert in remote viewing, interspecies communication. Um, I know a lot about disinformation. I just realized because of the fact that the person that was my control decades ago was a specialist in disinformation. Um, so I know a lot about it. I thought it was just my instincts. Nope. Okay. I'm going to, as usual, talk fast, but even faster today because I have a few events coming up, but I realize that what I have sketched today, and I'm not looking at you because I'm looking so that I am able to pull up today's map um, on the screen so that you can see. I have never, I'm going to do the map first. I have never sketched Alaska. Why the heck? What's interesting about Alaska? Hmm, isn't there a meeting there? God, I hope it's not today. Look at what. So here's the map. United States is anchoring love. It's protected both coasts. It's got the pyramids in the Gulf of America, protection, stability. Some stuff is coming over from Europe, anger. Those are those arrows, not a big deal. We're protected from whatever the heck is going on in Canada, which I suspect is very alien oriented or very oriented towards or influenced by what's happening in the North Pole. But I'm not going to go there because I'm not supposed to go there. But for the first time, I thought, you know what? I wonder how Mexico is. And I went to the bottom, which I don't have on the map, but I could have sketched. And then I saw that little thing there. And I went, well, what the heck is this blue section? It's Alaska. And it's all cursed. Now, if Alaska had been cursed before, I would have noticed it because of the vibration. So Alaska's cursed today. It was not cursed yesterday. When is that meeting that I think is in Alaska? The bad guys, you know what? They got all the time in the world, all the money in the world, but we're still winning. So, but it's like a little bit disconcerting. When I saw that, I said, you know what? I'm just going to race through this particular chat, which gets turned into the podcast, Francis Fox News from Other Dimensions, and they can wait a few minutes because this is just too important. Alaska cursed. Is something good supposed to happen there? I think, isn't that where Putin is meeting? I swear to you, I'm not 100% sure. Isn't that where Putin is meeting Trump? Why Alaska? Well, the bad guys know, and it is cursed. So if they end up not getting along well, it could be due to that. Now, I'm going to try to get my group to clear this, and who's ever out there who cares for Trump and wants this meeting to go well, just do the mantra. Please, God, help us with our intention that there be a miraculous purification of Alaska. But do it now. You can't wait. I don't know when the meeting is. Was it already? I don't know. But I'm not going to let that stop me because I don't have that much time and I got a lot of stuff. Let's go into gossip. Did you know that there are beauty spells? For the last several months, you know that I watch a lot of tarot card readings on the TV set because I can't leave my house and I don't have that much space here and I can't go to my patio. So I'm like stuck. And I watch movies every once in a while, but I've learned a lot from watching these tarot card readers. They are good. So they've been saying that somebody's jealous of me, of my looks. They think I look fabulous. Meanwhile, my self-esteem is so low. I'm like, what's the matter with them? They need glasses. But I mentioned it to somebody that knows a lot. And she said, obviously they're doing it because if not, they wouldn't be saying it. But she said, oh, yeah, they do that a lot. They transfer whatever you have to them. And in the process, I don't know, I didn't ask this part, they leave with you. You know what? My self-esteem is not allowing me to read this sufficiently well. All I can tell you is that there are several people that are doing beauty spells to take what they consider is my beauty. Guys, What's that saying? You don't have anything better to do? Anyway, so I just wanted to tell you that's possible. You can also transfer destinies. Now, that is even beyond my comprehension. Even though I'm going to tell you this week, I'm going to repeat that story, that god awful story of what they did to me when I was 11 and they took me to Cuba. The CIA took me to Cuba. Probably the worst story that I have, but I'm not going to go into it now. Maybe that's what they're talking about, transfer of destiny. There's an awful lot of that going on. There's a lot of people that want what I have. Bank accounts, money, apparently looks. That's funny for me. If I didn't have self-esteem issues, I probably would be a lot happier. Maybe they're doing stuff to lower my self-esteem. I have no idea, but I just think it's funny. How long can that last? Is that like a facelift? You have a certain number of years it lasts and then it droops. I have no idea. I've never had a facelift. I've not had any. I only had one piece of work done on my face, and I am sorry because it makes that part of me, which is here, different than the rest of me. So let's go into Washington, D.C. Out of control. Crime statistics. Trump is going to take over. Okay. But let's go into why. Causal. Let's go ahead and take care of it on the physical dimension, which is the manifestation. Causal. Washington, D.C. is built on top of swampland. Swampland is where Mother Earth puts spirits that have not gone to the light. If they haven't gone to the light, it's because their vibration is not good. They need work. So basically, Washington, D.C. is built on Mother Earth's burial ground, not an Indian burial ground, because the Indians had lives, and the ones who stay alive bury the ones who stay dead, who get dead, undead, unalive, who knows? And they put them in these restricted areas for a reason, and then they have people that their job is to be there praying all day and all night. We don't have that in Washington, D.C. Can I please get those monks brought over? Please. But that's not the only problem with Washington, D.C. The highest rate of bipolar in the United States is in Washington, D.C. What? Yes. So what are you going to do? You're going to get them in front of a judge if you have to pick up whatever. And at some point, they're going to need medical, psychological. Why don't we take care of the bipolar? Okay, let's do that. Bipolar is when you have a break in your Higgs field on the left side of the head, and a particular type of spirit comes in. The ones that come from Orion, the incubus and the succubus. The Catholic Church has a listing of spirits, and those two spirits are on that listing as like bad news. So we have a city where our government is run that basically may have as many residents from Orion, the planet or the system. I think it's a planet. If it's not, correct that for yourself. May have as many residents from Orion than residents from the United States. And then you ask, what's going on? Why do the politicians change? Well, you don't have to be a rocket scientist if you know about the other dimensions. I'm sharing the information. If you hear it often enough, maybe you'll pay attention to it. So swampland is Mother Earth's cemetery. That's why the water is acidic. You don't want to get in the water in swampland. You don't. I'm going to go to the University of Miami. If somebody wants to send a lawyer my way, there's no issue, because I was there when it was set up in 1969. University of Miami is heavily funded by the intelligence community. I know who started it, and I know what their intentions were. So you want to challenge me? Go right ahead. Washington, D.C. today does studies on animals having to do with microwave by people that use psychotronic weapons against the people in Coral Gables, against me, against politicians in Washington, D.C. Now, how much No, there's a direct relationship. There's not how much, there's no how much. And then you have the guy in Grove Isle. Is he still operational? What does he have to do with the University of Miami? Oh, he was the head of the Cuban studies for decades at the University of Miami. Is that a coincidence? Only rocket scientists are allowed in this chat, okay? If you don't get it, that's why we're in trouble. My handler is supposedly sick on his deathbed, one foot in jail, the other one in a coffin. But it might appear that he's going to try to stage or has already staged his death. Well, that would be something the US intelligence would do. The bad guys stage the death of somebody that they really need because of their level of technical expertise. Adam Schiff, my handler. Now, when I went to the University of Miami in 1969, no, 66 it would have been, and maybe it would have been around 68 that the intelligence community got very interested in the University of Miami. So my mind just slipped. We're going to say it anyway. So when I was there was this guy who was much older than the rest of us. And I remember he used to follow me around. He was really attractive, a lot older, well-to-do. And I thought, what's the matter with this guy? You know, he's like, get off of me. I don't think he was interested in me. He just wanted to be right there with me. Well, we can figure that one out. Okay. So I remember I would listen to him and I would say, why do you lie so much? Because he would be with, the whole group. And I'd say to him, why do you lie so much? I don't get it. Intelligence. He disappeared. He went out on the boat with a group of people and he disappeared. But he didn't disappear. He left the boat. Another boat picked him up. And maybe this was years ago, he's living someplace or lived out the rest of his life in another country. That was arranged by the CIA. So now my handler apparently is in a process. He may end up dead. Or maybe all the information being put out that he's like one foot in the grave and the other foot in jail may be a cover-up. But you know what? Somebody needs to see his body. Maybe all those gazillion women that he raped, trying to get them infected with what he has. Look at the way I did this. This is a labradorite is the most protective crystal on the planet. So when I can feel something, I start to do this, and then I look in the camera and I see it. Get yourself a labradorite necklace. Our store is closed. We're not asking you to get it from us, but you need it around your neck, and you especially need it at night. And if your ears start to bother you, then you go ahead and you drape it. Anyway, a little self-help, self-protection. I lived on Benevento Avenue. Right now, if the entire planet collapses, it will be because of all the CIA and FBI in Miami that are listening to me say the word Benevento Avenue in Coral Gables, Florida. Did you know Coral Gables, Florida is the second planned city in the United States? I almost think that must be misinformation, but I read it. I thought that's really weird. I don't know if it's weird, but I lived in Benevento next to the University of Miami. And there was an alleyway behind my house. And behind that alleyway is another apartments. The second floor of the building behind where I lived in Benevento, which I think was 323, there was a building on the second floor. If you you can enter from the back. There is an Mkultra specialist. Now, why would I dare say this? Because there's no more time. Because I trust Trump that he is creating enough order that they wouldn't do the stuff that they would normally do. This guy is there. So I'm giving a chat. And my chat, by the way, let me show you the graphic for my chat that I did at 11 this morning. This is my graphic. That's my graphic for my chat. I was in a rage this morning because it kind of hit me, the sheer volume of people that want me gone, want me dead, a lot of whom should have started to correct a while ago, but I guess they didn't know about revelations in the Bible. They didn't know the Mayans said the same thing was going to happen, and they weren't friends with the dolphins. This is like 5,000 years in the making, this piece of news that already landed. Revelations, everything you did is going to come out. It's going to come out. By the way, that's the reason for all the disinformation. If you throw out enough information that's incorrect, and then revelations happens, which is happening, which is what they're doing to Trump with the Epstein list, let's keep asking, when are you going to release the list? All that information is out there. What is your problem? You're not listening. Or you want it in a list, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway. I lost my thought again. They're working my head. Give me a second. I'll get it back. So here on Benevento Avenue, very iffy landlord. Oh, he's a psychologist from the University of Miami. I just remembered. One day, I have several police reports from when I lived there. But I would call them and they'd go, oh, okay, ma'am. Oh, yeah. And they'd sit and chat. They were really nice. And then finally I realized they're not taking down a police report. And it's serious enough for a police report. So anyway, so I would say, listen, I'm standing here until you give me one of these. And then they would, oh, yeah, but this won't be up for a couple of days in the files. I wonder if they're up at all. One day I'm in my backyard because I love being outside. And there's a truck. Okay, so you get suspicious. There's one right now, by the way, out here, which I am sure has to do with what I said in the chat at 11. Benevento Avenue, Coral Gables, next to Coral Gables. By the way, I sent a message to the mayor of Coral Gables, Vince Lago. But I've sent him that message before. And I said, you need to take care of this Mkultra guy. Okay, I won't hear back from him. He's a friend of my son's. And his daughter goes to Carrollton Catholic School with my granddaughter. So you would think that he would respond to an elderly woman. Okay. So I'm in my backyard and there's a truck. There's 2 trucks. And there's a guy with this big, thick yellow rope. What are you doing? No, we're just... And he's doing this. He's throwing the rope up in the air. And that is one of the police reports. He's throwing it up in the air, trying to hook it onto, I don't know if it was a tree. Well, that was all full of trees. It has to be the tree. And I said to him, listen, I'm a little bit worried. You could get electrocuted. Don't worry about it. And he kept doing it. And then he went like several paces and then he would throw it up again. He was trying to hang a thick yellow rope in the back of my house. I could not figure that out. When I called the police and they came and they said, we've never seen anything like this. I mean, it was that weird. I took photographs of the guy that came with a professional truck because the other guy was just a regular truck. And I took his photograph and I took his license and he got really nervous. And he said, here it is. And I said, well, your hand is over it. And I said, but that's not the license. Anyway, so obviously they were doing something weird. I couldn't figure it out. A yellow rope in the back of my house? One of the biggest mind control programs is follow the yellow brick road. But that took me a couple years to figure that one out. But I'm telling you, it was, and I said to the police, and I drove around the neighborhood, is somebody putting this yellow rope other places? I mean, what? He said, I have no idea. I've never seen this. And no, it was no place else. It was just right behind my house and a little bit extended. So now you have a lot of the mind control stuff, the programming. The yellow brick road, the Wizard of Oz is core and center for the military mind control program. Lightning's going to strike me. I never thought I'd be able to say this and actually remain seated or standing or operational. I have all the documents on the guy from the company that he said he was hired to put this up there. And what is this? Where did the yellow brick road start? Kansas. Isn't where they have the Department of Psychological Warfare of the Army, which is where the military mind control started? Did we take those people down? Or are we just going like that to them? Because that's not going to work. These guys are sick and they're vicious. And that MK Ultra guy, this one I could be wrong on, but he has an old beige car. When I moved from Benevento to Madeira, his car was parked across the street from my apartment. It was a narrow apartment. It wasn't like a big highway or anything. For a year. Just parked there, just reminding me, we're here. And they're going to be there forever if something's not done about it. Why are they so brazen? Why do they think they can still get away with this? By the way, in my chat today, and I'm going to say it and everybody can wait for me on my event, we're doing the chat about the rage. We're doing the mantra for rage. Even though I hate everybody and everything, I love and accept myself, because this morning I wanted to kill. So I said, let me do mantras. And I said, let me set up a chat that helps other people and also keeps me grounded. And then I don't run off and do something else. I have to stay there because I'm with people. So I'm there, and all of a sudden I could see the FBI agent, who is a Cuban female from Central America, not Cuban, she's from Central America. By the way, I'm half Cuban. This is not about Cubans. The Cuban mafia is not about Cubans. It's about a group. So I could see her astrally, and she was standing up just watching the TV set. I think she's in a hotel, and I don't think she's here. She's someplace else. And she was getting very nervous. So I said, she's here, grab her spirit and take her to the waters off the south coast of Puerto Rico, which is sacred water with dolphins and whales that work with us. And then I get somebody with a last name that I recognize, because they're totally into black magic, but really ugly stuff. And they ran circles around me for a lot of years because they were so sweet. And they were so helpful. So I said, do you have a brother? And of course, then everything, whatever. Then I could see a woman sitting at her. This is just during my chat today. Oh, the shaman from the setup on Monday, he was also working to try to take down the group. And then I could see this girl, I don't know how old she is, sitting at a computer. And behind her is the MK Ultra guy from across the alley in Benevento. So I said to my group, this girl is sitting there. She had already done this before. He had gotten her to do it. The trick is that he knows that I can see. So he doesn't sit at the computer. He has somebody else who sits there and then types something in. I don't know what message she would have typed, because we're getting really strict about that in terms of getting vicious, in terms of grabbing their spirit and dumping it in the water. And so she turns around to him, whatever, and he's like upset. And then I said the MK Ultra. The man went completely ballistic. I've never said MK Ultra. Never said it. He went totally ballistic. He was throwing things against the wall, and then he got on the phone. And then in the chat, people said, we can't hear you. The audio is terrible. The visuals getting all whatever. And so I asked them to identify what platforms were getting affected, because certainly there appears to be direct correlation between me being on social media and that man losing it because I said MK Ultra and that he was, which he is, and then getting on the phone. Who did he call? We know that in YouTube, we have people that are hired, they're young and they're Hispanic, that sit there all day long, because I do chats all day long, and they sit there all day long and watch what we're doing. Our numbers, as you will see, if you want to have fun, or if you're angry at authority, sit in front of my English, these chats, in my YouTube called Francis Fox English, and just sit there, click the video, and watch the numbers. And then have your little phone there. So the number of likes, it'll move, and it'll end up at the same number it was before, or it'll go down. The number of people that are actually watching does all sorts of crazy things. 0 comments. I had, because I put the word Venezuela in the title yesterday, we had like 1,500 people. We don't usually get but 80 or 90, 100 and some, 300 by the end of the week. 0 comments. Venezuelans are very chatty. Very chatty. 0 comments. Now, is that against the law? I don't know. Elon, is that against the law? And it's so obvious. I have dozens of people that have screenshots and videos of what goes on with this chat. The English, they don't want the Anglos. They're okay with the Hispanics knowing this. I mean, it's traditional for Americans to find out and become sophisticated and magic? No. They don't want that. I told you, I could say pretty much a lot to my Hispanic followers. But once I started with the English, this is like a really big problem. Can you imagine a country as powerful as this one also aware of magic? Not aware of magic, aware of how many other countries and other people use magic? No, 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 no. That, you can't do that. Well, you know what? We're doing it. And somebody did magic on Alaska. And it is the first time, and this is exactly the same map every time. It's the first time that I have even noticed Alaska. And I noticed because boom, boom, the frequency of black magic. So we have the 2 most important people in the world, Putin and Trump, getting set up by people who do know magic and you don't. Why don't you? Oh, you turn that department over to your religion. Why'd you do that? That's not working. I don't like this. This eyebrow is lower than the other one. And that means that you're really out of sorts. Yeah, I'm out of sorts today, but my goodness, got to get that taken care of. Anyway, I did something interesting today. Oh, this section is on prosperity. I had an event, and there was supposed to be 7 people, and only one person purchased the event, which is fine because it was very poorly advertised, and I'm tired. But it was wonderful because I don't have it here. I would never show her graphic, but I decided I wanted to have the physical body, front, side, and back, and on there sketch the blocks to prosperity. I did. And it turns out that these are all health issues she has. But what she didn't know, and neither did I, is that those health issues are her blocks to prosperity. They're not negative energy and her blocks. They are her blocks to being prosperous, and not because she's invalid and laying on a bed. Wow. I'm going to be doing a lot of that. So our prosperity is not just connected to our root chakra or whether our father went bankrupt when you were, by the way, if your father or your, family went bankrupt or god awful down in their prosperity when you are between 14 and 17, that is a huge block. It creates a huge pattern and it makes it very difficult for you to achieve. And if you achieve, you lose it. So then you have to do the mantra. Please God help me with my intention to miraculously purify my father's business failure or the family's bankruptcy. And you do it, and then eventually it doesn't feel like there's any energy there because you finished. It's a pattern. So, but I didn't know it was, I didn't know that if I sketched somebody's physical body, not the chakras, which is another energy body, it's the energy body. The physical is a physical. The chakras are actually in all the bodies except the physical, which just the organs, whatever. I did not know that. So this is, I love this and I love sharing it. I love the process of discovery. Like, oh my God, look what it's like, great. I really do like it. And the other dimensions is so much more interesting. So I'm going to, I was going to say call it quits. I am going to put in a call to the Mayor Coral Gables Vince Lago, and I will not reach him because once we had our first private conversation and I told him the name of my handler, he never wanted to speak to me again or look at me again. But I will get to his secretary and I will tell him that he needs to take care of the MK Ultra guy behind Benevento because the guy's still there. I'm here, which is 40 blocks away, but he's still there. He's not just there, but he is, what do you call it? Stalking my social media. Okay. I'm going to get more into that whole thing about transfers of energies, beauty spells, destiny transfers. And I have to tell you the story about what was set up last week that did not happen, which was a transference also. Perhaps a follow-up of what they did to me when I was 11. Not good. Not good. Okay, we need to clean up Alaska. So all of you have to become spiritually sophisticated. This is the mantra. Yes, I will be there in a few minutes to the chat. I want you to say the words of Alaska and the meetings, because I suspect there'll be a meeting and there'll be more private meetings. This is the mantra. So, petition to Trump. We would like to help out with Chicago, not Washington, D.C. Bipolar, we don't want to deal with Orion, whatever. But Chicago has the largest, I think it's the largest portal in the United States. It's a huge portal. There's no way you will have anything but god-awful happenings there. But if we were able to close that portal in the south of Venezuela, which completely shifted everything, this was 2018, 2019, we should be able to close the portal in Chicago. But there's a requirement. I ain't just doing stuff. There has to be a before and after. There needs to be not a study, just collect the statistics, how many murders, what, and then we will know exactly the date in which we start to close the portal. And then there'll be an end date when we feel that we close the portal. And then you can get statistics again and compare them. That is what needs to be happening in every field today, including medicine. Okay? I've got to really leave now. So there's your mantra. You repeat it silently in your mind. You expel your breath through your mouth. Okay? And send also, which is the very Anglo thing, light to Alaska. But that's not going to take care of the black magic, but that's also good. Okay? And you know what? We do one more thing. We send pink medusas. And they bring a beautiful energy. It's a very sophisticated part of metaphysics. So just visualize a lot of pink medusas all around these two men in the meetings and Alaska. But this is the thing, the mantra. Repeat it in silence. Expelling your breath through your mouth. That's what can make the difference. Okay? Thank you, and we'll be back. And did we do it again? Yeah, 34 minutes. It really, you know what? This 20-minute thing goal is not working. Bye.